Hello, I'm Nik Coffee, and you're listening to Ministerium Radio. I thought, listener, that we could try to get to know each other through this episode. I already know plenty about you, trust me, but I'd like to tell you about myself. You've probably thought to yourself, does he live in that studio? I go home every day to my apartment on the first floor. Once home, I'll pour a glass of wine or a sip of whiskey and stare at the sky. Do I expect to see something that I have never seen in the sky? Absolutely not. I've seen a few shooting stars here and there, but never anything interesting. That is, until yesterday. The whole day felt odd, but especially so as I stared into the chasm. It felt as if an enormous eye, so vast that our planet held the comparative mass of a speck of dust next to it, was watching over us. I felt like I saw a shooting star, but it wasn't really a star, or at least so I think. It wasn't a random collection of rogue particles from the savage vacuum. No, listener, I believe that it was something completely different. The first entry of tonight was recovered from the vacuum of space, and seemed pretty appropriate for tonight's vibe. It's from a being that some might call an angel, some might call her a demon. Personally, I call her a friend, a decent one at that. It reads, I'm a 5-dimensional being, and here I interrupt, listener, imagine yourself as a spider in a terrarium. Now we would be the spider, and the terrarium is both in front of her and inside her mind. Sorry for the interruption, let's resume. This means I have responsibilities beyond those of a being like yourself. Whenever time may ripple, or fold, or tear, my kind and I will be there to rectify these mistakes. When I am presented with a phenomenon I cannot understand, or challenge without provocation, this understandably frustrates me. This story is a recollection of a subject of incredible frustration. Very often these anomalies are taken willingly to forever autumn. Denise was different. When I first truly met her, she had already started toying with reality. The first time was an accident. She was walking with her headphones blaring, playing some infantile agricultural game, when she waddled in front of a moving bus. It all happened in a second. The bus connected with her body. The brakes engaged. She flew across the pavement. And despite the driver's efforts, the bus could not slow down enough, and every left tire of the machine ran her over. She was destroyed, utterly. She exhaled and died. She came to my realm. Of course, this was by design. However, she was taken back by something I can't explain, back to a different dimension from her own, one in which she had just crossed the road, letting the bus pass behind her. She screamed. She voided herself. Such is the nature of these primates. She experienced what is known as temporary and/or cathartic psychosis. She knew she had gone crazy, and so she took her own life. She climbed to the top of an electrical mast and let the current pass through her. Again, she came to our realm. I saw her. She saw me, and she disappeared. Again. I ran to find her as fast as light could take me. And finally, there she was. She didn't know what to make of me. She thought I was a demon, as many do. What do you want? She asked me. I told her my intentions, that I could not stop her as of yet, and that my objective was to observe her until it yielded information about how to curb the existence of humans like herself. They are not intended to be here, and for them to take advantage of the strings of the universe irks it greatly. The universe that you call chaos is as chaotic to us and the universe as the atoms within boiling water seem to you, chaotic and insignificant. Significance lies in the order of the atoms, that these atoms don't simply disappear or reappear. I am to understand that you're familiar with metaphors. That was one. She refused to avoid harm. She took great pleasure in trying to disturb me with her displays of gore, but it never truly worked. When this began to irk her, she would intensify her displays. They went from minute and invisible to grand and public. It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. My worries hinged on the holes punctured through the fifth and fourth dimension. Eventually, she lost interest in me. In fact, she wanted me gone. Now all she wanted was privacy. She wanted no more death, no more waking up in a parallel world where she didn't pull the trigger. All she wanted was out. And as much as I wanted to give it to her, I had no idea how to proceed. However, the universe often shows great resilience in and of itself. She was hiding within her apartment. I, of course, was there. After another bout of screaming at me, she threw herself from her window and injured herself. She suffered a major brain injury and several fractured vertebrae, and all 4 limbs beyond function. She didn't die, however. Instead, she clung to life. It surprised me, to be truthful, how much physical damage she had sustained while avoiding the icy grasp of death. She was taken to a hospital room. She was given liquid and medicines. Then she was taken to another hospital room. Then another. And that hospital room is the one in which she lies right now. That hospital room is the room in which I must stay and watch until she is no more. Sounds like I might not see my angel demon friend for a while. How about that? Before you ask, no, she's just a friend. She has 3 legs, and that's just not enough. Also, I'm not a fan of chrome. Moving on. The next story was found in a printer in dimension 4Y9749277 in an office building with a sign reading QR Holdings on the front. I have no idea how it ended up there, but then again, life is full of mysteries. We'd be wise to appreciate them before they go. My father was a bank robber. He wasn't with the throbbing Gristle Boys, or even the French Mafia. He worked alone for the most part anyway, and he was also a good man. He never hurt anyone, never damaged property without reason. The man wasn't as bad as they'll have you believe. He brought me along for some of his jobs. I know, reckless father, but I dare say that I was safer in a bank during a robbery than at school. The American school system is broken, hence the acronym you can make from its name. Anyway, back to the robberies. Every time it'd be somewhat the same. On with the masks, and in we went. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a robbery. We have no intention of hurting you. We just want your money. Jewelry and wallets go in a pile on the floor, and if you keep your heads down, we'll be out before you can say, Help, it's a robbery. No screaming, no shooting or trying to scare the poor folk. Nice and easy. 120 to 240 seconds, in and out. Gristle Boys don't do that. They leave bodies. Big piles of them. We just left insurance claims in the making. He'd boast in the pubs to his friends. Some things in this world are 10 times worse than prison, he'd say. He wasn't going to be part of some great machine that chewed up people and spat out shadowy figures of what they once were. Standing here, I can't help but feel partly responsible for what happened, because I was there. I was at the bank trying to cash a check that was probably going to bounce anyway, when in comes my dad. Mask on, gun out, the whole 9 yards. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a robbery. I have no intention of hurting you. I just want your money. Jewelry and wallets go in a pile on the floor, and if you keep your heads down, we'll be out of here before you can say, help, it's a robbery. It felt surreal being on the other side of things, and I just did what he said. I prayed to God he wouldn't notice me, and that everything would run smoothly. He'd get the money, he'd leave, and I'd get the free counseling and, if I was very lucky, a check that said, don't sue us please. Everything went okay. That is, until the door opened. I looked over. It wasn't the police. Not at all. 3 men with black balaclavas, each holding an automatic firearm. I had no idea what the chances were of this even happening. They were as confused as I was. My dad was understandably confused as well. He told them to leave, and they told him to leave. And the next minute, everything was red. To me, at least, everything was red. My world had turned red, because I saw my father die, right there in front of me. I panicked and screamed. I cried. The police showed up. The trio was being tailed and watched the entire time. Not very clever, as my old man would have said. I loved my dad. I still do. He was a good man, so good in fact, that he gave bad men a good name. Thank you. No, Thomas, thank you. That was touching. It reminded me of my own father, whom I only vaguely recall. He wasn't a spider. He was... Or was he? Did he look like an explorer? I can't remember. Maybe that's the takeaway from this one. Savor the faces and names you can remember. One day you may forget, and if you do, you'll know to let your confused wandering take you to the halls of Ministerium Miskatonic. Thank you for listening, and have a good night. Thank you for listening to another episode of Ministerium Miskatonic Radio. If you have a story you'd like us to read on the show, you can go ahead and contact us with the email in the description. And if you haven't already, go ahead and punch all those buttons below this video to be notified of future videos. That's all for now. Thank you.